Welcome back to the channel, everybody. It's Myles. I recently did a video talking about 3 steps to make it into the UFC and get a contract. And in that video, I asked everybody if, hey, do you want me to do a separate video on a manager? What it's like, what they charge, what to look for in a good manager. And I had an overwhelming response of yes. A lot of people wanted me to do a video on management and tell them my side on it and give them any tips that could possibly help them out in their career in fighting in mixed martial arts. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Managers in the UFC and Bellator, are they worth it? Now, managers are nothing new to the fight game. Back in the day, it used to be guys like Monty Cox, who used to manage a lot of fighters. And nowadays, you have guys like Ali, who manages Khabib, to Justin Gaethje, to Henry Cejudo. And you also have like Sucker Punch Entertainment, who manages my girl Angela Overkill Hill and Rose Thug. And then you have my boys Martin Advisory, which is Dave and Randall. Now they manage me, Michael Chandler, Ryan Bader, Darren Caldwell, Luke Rockhold, and a lot of other guys. So there's no shortage in the fight game of managers. There's a lot of them out there. And today we're going to talk about how to choose a good manager, what to look for, and some things to stay away from a bad manager as well. So what is the definition of a manager? Well, to figure this out, we're going to go to our most trusted search engine ever, Google. Now, Google has a manager defined as a person responsible for controlling or administering all or parts of a company or similar organization. And that makes perfect sense because you, the fighter, you are the business, you are the company. And a manager is going to organize and control certain aspects of your business. And in the fight game, there's definitely a lot of stuff that you're going to need help with. Your job as a fighter is to train hard and show up and be an animal in that cage. So a manager can actually help take away some of the responsibilities of being a fighter. So that way you can just wake up in the morning, go to the gym, come back home, eat properly, get some rest, go back to the gym, get some more rest, and do that all the way up until your fight, step in that cage and whoop some butt. You don't have to worry about anything else but just training and fighting. So what are some things to look for in a good manager? Well, first things first, honesty and integrity are right at the top. You need somebody who's going to tell you the truth, the real news, whether it's good or bad. You want somebody that's going to follow through with what they say and not promise you stuff and never deliver. That's the worst. I've had managers and I've had people in the past that promise you one thing, but they never deliver. It's always talking big, 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 but they never came through with it. You want first, and most importantly, somebody who's honest so you can trust them, and somebody who's going to deliver on their word. If they say, Myles, we're going to get you signed with this organization, they come through and they do it. Or if they say, Myles, we're going to get you this sponsorship, they come through and they actually do it. That's super important, integrity and honesty. And on top of that, you need a manager that's connected. That's one of the biggest things as a fighter. You want to get into the bigger shows, you want to make the most money, and you need somebody who has contacts and networks with Dana White, Sean Shelby in the UFC, Bellator. You need guys that have a good relationship, a good standing contact, so when your manager calls them about you, they pick up. When your manager leaves them a voicemail, they get back to them. That's super, super important. You want somebody who's connected in the fight game. Lastly, you want a manager that's hardworking, somebody who wakes up every day and tries to go out there and find leads, find companies to get endorsements or sponsorships for you as a fighter. You want somebody who is constantly contacting organizations, who's in contact with people and businesses that can help support you in your career. I once knew a hardworking manager that would contact 50 to 100 businesses per day and just contact them via email, calling them, cold calling, researching different businesses, because it comes down to a numbers game when you're looking for sponsors. If you only look at 100 different companies, well then that pool is just that of only 100. But if you look at 200, 300, 400, you have the option, you have more possibilities to get endorsements and sponsors because you're working harder, you're looking at more companies and you're networking more. And that's what you want as in a manager, somebody who's constantly waking up every day and working hard for you, earning that percent that you're going to pay them. Outside of being hardworking and honest, what are some things that a manager should do for you? Because that's super, super important. First things first, a manager should figure out what organization fits best with where you're at in your career, and they should get you signed to that organization. contact them, get you a contract, and work out the best possible deal with the most money that you can make at that time for your deal. They should also negotiate and get you the best opponents for where you're at in your career. And on top of that, they should be contacting and finding you sponsors and endorsements. Now, these sponsors and endorsements, they can be anything from cash money, or they can run like product, supplements. Heck, it can be even a car. I've seen a lot of fighters, when they get to a certain level, they'll get sponsorships for a brand new car. I mean, who wouldn't want that, right? Now, a big question you might be asking is, how much do managers charge? Because that's a big part of it. You know, you work hard as a fighter, you make money, and you have a short career. So what you do with your money is super, super important. And you want to make sure if you're paying people that you're actually getting a return on your money. So a manager, from my experience, will charge anywhere from 5% to 20% of your show purse and your win purse. They also can charge 5 to 20% of your bonuses, and usually the sponsors that they find, they always take around 20% off the top of whatever the number it is. So for example, let's say you make $10,000 in your fight. Well, if your manager takes 20%, that would be $2,000. And let's say he brings in $10,000 in sponsorships. Well, he would take another $2,000 off the sponsorships as well. Now, if a manager charges 5%, usually that just means he's negotiating your contracts and just getting you fights. If he charges 5 to 10%, that means he's negotiating your contracts and he's finding you sponsorships and maybe helping out with any things behind the scenes, like maybe some flights or coordinating some travel. Now, if a manager charges 10% to 20%, that means that this is like the full service management. They should be getting you contracts for your fights. They should be dealing with travel for you. They should be almost like a personal secretary if you need anything, paperwork, medicals. They should also be organizing if you need help with sparring partners or you need to go travel somewhere. And on top of that, they should be like a part-time psychiatrist, because that's part of the game. A lot of fighters are going through, you know, substance abuse issues, relationship issues, and we have a lot of stuff on our minds when we're getting ready to go for a fight. And a good manager, especially if they're charging 20%, should be their phone call away for any issues that you have, either business or personal. So now that we know what a manager is, how much they charge, it brings the question, do you need a manager? And that's what a lot of people ask on the channel. In my opinion, yes, you need a manager, because it's a fight game and it's a very short window. You only make money when you're fighting. There's no backup plan. There's no retirement plan. You need to make the most out of it when you're in the cage. And a manager can be like a third party between you and the organization you're fighting for. They can keep it 100% business, so that way you're not getting bad negotiating deals on some of your contracts. And on top of that, the manager could be that middleman, because let's face it, when you're dealing with Dana White in the UFC and even Bellator, it's easy to become more of a fan than the fighter. And what I mean by that is you're a fan of it and you're going to kind of go along with whatever they want to do. And that's not the best thing to do when you're negotiating. You want to have somebody that'll step in, make sure from a business side you're getting taken care of the best that you can, and if need be, they can be the bad guy. They can be the one that the UFC doesn't like, or they can be the one that Bellator doesn't like, but at the end of the day, they're getting you good money and they're taking care of their client. Remember, your job is just to train your butt off and be an animal inside the cage. So a manager can help take a lot of those responsibilities outside of those two jobs for you. And most importantly, a good manager is like family. Having a loyal backing in this game is super, super important, because when you have that, it gives you the power and the confidence to go out there and leave it all in the cage. And when you do that, you have great performances, you make more money, and that's what you want. I've had the opportunity to work with a lot of great managers throughout my 10-year plus career, and I've also seen my fair share of not so good managers. If your manager's causing drama with the organization you're fighting for or sponsors that you're working with, that looks poorly on them, and thus it looks poorly on you. So if you have somebody that's unprofessional representing you, chances are UFC or Bellator might not want to work with them, and that makes them not want to work with you. And the same thing comes to a sponsorship. If you have somebody that's representing you and doing things and saying things that is very, very unprofessional to the company that you're working with, chances are the company might just say, you know what, we don't want to deal with that guy. We like Myles or we like the fighter, but we don't want to deal with that middleman. Let's just move on without them. And that hurts you as a fighter. So be careful the company you keep. A good manager can lift you up and a bad manager can pull you down. The choice is yours. Thank you guys for sticking with me to this whole video. If you've made it this far, make sure to subscribe and hit that thumbs up button. And until next time.